The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel welcomes you to this edition of the Mayor's and Supervisors Weekly Update, brought to you by...
Each week, our community makes history. Each week, you make history. And each week, there's only one source to turn to for the first take on history. You know what that is? Subscribe to the Sentinel right now to discover the history being made in your own backyard.
The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel. More than just your news, it's your history.
Hey, welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Mayor's and Supervisors Update. I'm Chris Carosa, publisher of the Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel, and each week we bring you the goings-on in the towns and villages that we cover. Before we start with our usual fare, I just want to remind everyone that this show was recorded on Friday, so if anything happened yesterday, we're not going to be talking about it. With that, let's start off with Rick Milne, Honeoye Falls. What's going on in Honeoye Falls, Rick?
Well, again, Chris, it has been a busy week of planning, but outside of what we're not talking about, we're focusing right now on the village. As I've mentioned a couple of times, we've had some, really nice grant opportunities come through, and those are starting to move forward. We're starting to get through the programs, if you will. One of the things we really want to focus on is that sidewalk area in front of the post office and up to Norton Street from Episcopal. And it's really been a very difficult area for our residents to walk in. And we have received a nice grant for that. But to do that work, of course, it still is costly, and the grants never cover the whole thing, right? So we're going through that planning, those planning stages. We've got the engineering work done. But now we also have to work with the federal government, right? Because we're going to be doing work in front of the United States Post Office. So everything, it's all positive stuff, but it's never simple. So we're working on that. And as I mentioned before, we did receive a really nice, sizable grant for our wastewater treatment plant project, but we're going through that process as well. And this is a major, major project for the village of Honeoye Falls and our residents and businesses. This is a project that's going to be close to $9 million. It's a project that has to get done. And we've received a very nice $2.3 million grant, but there's another grant that we're going after that's really much bigger than that. And it's important that we get that. And we think we're in very good position, but we're working with all of our statewide elected officials, et cetera, and we're hoping that will come through. So we're going to have a lot of talk about that. So it's really been a lot of work on grants and, getting into the winter now, right? We've had a very warm winter. We haven't had to do much plowing, much salting at all, but we know that's going to change. And actually in this upcoming week, they're talking about one of the first major snowstorms to possibly hit us. So people need to be prepared. If you haven't got your snow shovels out, if you haven't got your calcium, your salt or whatever for your sidewalks or driveways, get it. You need to be prepared. From the county level, it has been a roller coaster of a week. It's been a little bit in the news, but we had our organizational meeting and again, not getting into the political side of it, but we had to elect a new president of the Monroe County Legislature with the Republican caucus losing the majority. And for the first time in some 30 years, it's a major change for us. And it was quite a process trying to get the new president elected. And it didn't bode well from my standpoint. It didn't make the legislature and the elected officials look good. And I say that because it took, two nights of arguing back and forth to get this work done. The good thing is it's finally done. And we have a lot of very important business to move forward. My main concern remains not only for the legislative district that I service, District 5, but overall for all of Monroe County. We have a lot of infrastructure programs that need to move forward. and public safety for me is always first in the paramount concern. And I think that's my biggest concern moving forward are changes to our public safety as far as support goes. And that's something that I am going to be very, very vocal about, along with some of my fellow legislators, that we need to make sure that public safety is first and foremost of importance for us. And it's going to be an interesting year coming up for sure. So those have been the things that have really kept us going. And hopefully next week, and we can all report on a good event that would have happened yesterday. So again, my thanks for being online. Thanks for setting this up. And again, my thanks to my fellow partners, municipal partners. We have a great team here. We have a great group of people that work together, and it's an honor to serve with all those on here. So thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Over to Mike. Town of Lyman, maybe Livingston County. What do we got going on there?
Hello, Chris. Thanks for having us again as we have crawled out of the power outage thing, hopefully. So the only thing I'll say about the outage that happened yesterday or this past Saturday is now is a really good opportunity for you to look back at how you and your house and your family all dealt with it. Were there things that you completely had to have that didn't work? Are there things that you now want to do to your home or that you want the municipalities to do or whatever in the aftermath? Now is the time to write all that stuff down, send emails, and make a plan. I can tell you that I spent last week doing last minute changes and fixes so that people could have generators hooked up and all that. And the supply houses quickly ran out of parts. And that is just going to be the state of things as we go forward. So always better to do it when it's not needed. When it's needed, always harder. Livingston County, the Teen Recognition Award nominations are now open. We've come to that time of year already. Nominations are due by February 2nd. Any teen who resides in Livingston County, 15 years old by February 2nd, and still in school up through graduation, they can be nominated for an award. The Youth Bureau holds a huge award ceremony in the spring, quite something to see. And we would certainly like to have some folks nominated from each of the 17 townships. Call 585-243-6909 with questions or visit the Youth Bureau website. In Albany, the governor did go ahead and pass the Birds and the Bees Act, which is dealing with seed coatings on farmer seed. She did make some last minute changes to it to make it a little bit less draconian, but it did pass nonetheless. And also the election law changes for making our local elections every couple of years also went through. So for people like me who are on a 4-year schedule, at the next point that I would run would be in 2 years. It would only be for a 3-year term, which would then be synchronizing me with the presidential election cycle. People on the off 2 years would be a 3-year term to synchronize them with the gubernatorial cycle. With all of that, it's good to have the new year here. It's good to have a lot of the new changes and things coming. And I am glad to be spending it here with you and my fellow electeds here in our area. Thanks very much, Chris.
Thanks, Mike. And John Moffett, Town of Mendon. What's moving there?
Well, hopefully we've had a reasonable response for the power outage. I want to thank the Mendon Fire Department and commissioners for opening up the Mendon Firehouse, which is served by RG&E, so that there is a warming station for any of our residents. Obviously, not all the town of Mendon is being affected by this power outage, but for those who are, hopefully you take advantage of that warming station, and please if you're viewing this live, this happened yesterday, so we'll be monitoring it here from Town Hall as well. The tax bills, county and town tax bills have gone out. The receiver of taxes is Michelle Booth. If you have not received your tax bill, please contact Michelle at Town Hall, and she can provide you a copy and answer any questions that you may have. If you haven't flipped the calendar yet, February is leap year, which means we are going to be experiencing a presidential election in November. The last date to change your registration, should you desire, is February 14th. So if there is a primary and you want to vote in a primary, you need to be a registered member of that particular party. If you are not a registered member of that particular party that may or may not have a primary, you will not be allowed to vote in the primary. So I just bring that up to folks. Also, because it is a presidential year, the Board of Elections is always looking for people to work. And it is a paid position. Nobody's going to get rich working that day. However, it is a civic duty if you can do it. We certainly wish that you would sign up, and you can go to the Board of Elections website for more information. Thank you very much, and we look forward to our post electrical outage time.
All right. Thanks, John. Anything else from Mike or Rick?
Yeah, Chris, if I may, and John just kind of reminded me about that, talking about the calendar. The Village of Honeoye Falls, when we have our monthly village board meetings, they are normally the third Monday of each month. And of course, every year, January and February, we have the Martin Luther King holiday and the President's Day holiday. So both January's meeting and February's meeting will be moved back or moved ahead, if you will, one day. So instead of meeting on January 15th, our village board meeting will be on Tuesday, January 16th, again, still beginning at 7 p.m. And then in February, instead of the 19th, it will be the 20th. So I just wanted to mention that now before I forget. January and February, we meet on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. All right. Thank you very much, Chris.
All right. Thanks, Rick. And thank you all for being here. Thank you all for listening. Remember, this show airs every Sunday at 1 p.m. on our Facebook page. Like that, and you'll get notification when it airs, as well as our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that, and again, you'll get notification when it airs. That's all for this week. I'll leave everyone with the following message. Go Bills. See you all next week. Bye-bye for now.
Imagine yourself communicating with a difference. Pan-Dimensional Solutions helps you do this. Whether live spectator events, taped broadcasts, or real-time audience-engaging programs, you can benefit immediately from the tools Pan-Dimensional Solutions will share with you. Do you want to make a difference? Contact us at pandimensional.com.